Hey, we're the Naked and Famous, and you're listening to WRSU FM New Brunswick, the home of Rutgers Radio.
How have you guys been doing with quarantine and social distancing and everything?
I've been doing great. I'm having a great time. I realized I have a lot of hobbies. So, yeah, like on Saturdays, I joined my sister who lives in Sydney. We water paint. She's an art student. Well, she went to art school. So when I'm drawing and sketching with her, we just catch up and I'll have questions about my techniques and things that I could do better, and she's like a wealth of knowledge. And then I'll go out and do some gardening. I'm thinking about getting a garden bed, maybe grow some vegetables, and then I'm recording songs. And then Luna Shadows just sent me some vocals to record, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm here, I'm writing in my studio, and then I'm reading books. I don't know, I just have a lot of activities on.
Has it affected your creative flow at all? Do you feel like it's bringing more out of you?
You know, I've been talking to a few of my songwriter friends, and they've been doing like music sessions remotely, and it's easy to do with people that you already know because you already have a rapport with them, but it's harder to do like a virtual session with somebody you don't know. Like Tom harps on about this all the time about how important body language is, because there are so many nuances that you lose when you don't have that face-to-face communication. And I feel like that really does affect like a virtual writing session with someone you don't know. So we personally haven't ventured out into the virtual creative process. When Tom's finished his 14-day quarantine from traveling internationally, then I'll extend my 2-person bubble to a 3-person bubble so that we can do some Naked and Famous stuff. But for me personally, my creative process and how I do things, it hasn't really changed because I already work from home. I have a place to work, and I have a place to scream and yell into a microphone. So yeah, it's actually been pretty good so far. I'm gonna ride this wave.
Tom, does the same thing go for you?
I have actually been struggling, to be honest. I got Alisa and I were the Naked and Famous. Were midway through a tour in Australia when the kind of quarantine really kicked off for everyone, and we all sort of realized how serious. So we had to cancel the rest of the tour, which is really upsetting for us because we hadn't played as the full live band for like many years, and we'd putting in all this effort and rehearsing, spending money on all this gear. And we were 2 shows in, and then we had to cancel it. So it was really upsetting. And I think because I set myself on that, my mentality was there. It was like, it's live show time. That's what I'm doing. I'm becoming a live musician again. I just felt so thrown by all that plan disappearing, and kind of the rug being pulled out from underneath our feet. And also just I think I've just been feeling like a bit of grief, to be honest, because of where we are personally, Alisa and I, in our album campaign. We've been working on this album for a couple of years now, and it's taken a lot of energy and effort to get things to where they are. And this is like 10 years for us honestly longer, much longer for us, personally, Lisa and I, as a band. And then to have all that, right before we had this album come out, to become all of a sudden really difficult, and all those plans to get ruined. It's been very sad, but I'm also very worried for everyone at the same time. So I don't want to sound too first world problemy.
Everything's on hold on such a global scale for the music industry, for other people who are creatives. Everybody is feeling that on a global scale. So how are you doing in this present moment, though, day to day? I've been in lockdown for a month now, and I feel like I've gotten into a grounded routine. Routine really grounds me. When I don't have a routine, I feel kind of aimless. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
I think it's
Agree.
weird. Nothing has changed actually, weirdly, for Alisa and I in some respects. Like we live from home, we work from home anyway. So this isn't like something we're not used to. And we spend a lot of time at home with like our respective partners. So it hasn't been a huge life change, but I think for me the effect that it's had on my ability to plan the rest of my year and to do stuff has really made me feel super demotivated, depressed, just like, oh, like what do I do? You know, so I have my schedule, my routine, my to like just get up and do the same thing every day. It's just like I've had such a hard time, which is so weird considering nothing's really changed for me. But like, for example, I love going to the gym and like taking classes. I can't do that. And exercise is such an important part of my day. And like I have no room here at my small apartment to do that. So this like huge thing that I took for granted was like my Xanax every single day. Like that's gone. And I'm struggling to self-motivate to do like push-ups in the kitchen. You know, I can't, that's the kitchen, that's where I cook. So it's like there's a few little things that have really just thrown me, and I think I've spiraled into like, you know, one thing's not right, so like, oh fuck it, who cares? I'll crack open a beer at like 4 p.m. because it's nearly 5 p.m. and you know, just thriving in the worst ways in quarantine.
As you can see, I'm the more optimistic one and Tom's the more pessimistic one. The real yin-yang union happening here.
So with Recover coming out in July, how, like, what kind of emotions come with putting out a new album, and especially now in the current climate with putting out a new album?
First, I'm like, releasing an album July 24th, like, I'd be very, very overwhelmed because Tom and I have taken at least 2 years to make this record happen, and the fact that we won't have that platform to really present it the way we want to present it, to go on tour, to perform the songs live, to travel, to do all of that stuff attached with releasing new material to support it, like that part really, it's really devastating that isn't there, because that's what I look forward to the most.
Yeah, it's a real momentum killer. That's like, it's an interesting thing. It's difficult to explain to people how it works, but like when you're working towards releasing something, unless you have star power, you know, and you can just count on the press to kind of follow you around, which we don't. So we have to really like build momentum to be able to reach even just like all of our fans. You know, we need to get them aware that we're doing stuff, and that really takes some time and energy and enough space to tell the story of the record. And that's really, it's made it difficult to do that. But the album itself, like the meaning behind the album, it's kind of twofold. Like, at least you could maybe you could talk about the meaning of the actual title track song, Recover, first.
Wow, the meaning, that song came from like a week of just like writing where we were just really happy with all the songs that were coming out of us, and Recover came from a moment where there was a period of my life where I was feeling a lot of grief about the absence of my mother. You know, I've written about her before in a song, Could I Kill Giants, on another record, and that is from the perspective of me as a child, but I've always carried this grief with me all the way through my life and now up into my adulthood. And Recover was just about feeling the absence of my mother whenever I reached all of these different milestones in my life, what like some of the biggest moments in my life that I wished that she could have been there for. And 2 years ago I bought my first house in LA, and that was just like a major achievement for me, just as a woman on my own who comes from a family of refugees. You know, it was a huge accomplishment, and I was just thinking about her, just thinking about like what she would think about my life. Would she be proud of me? And that kind of grief is something that I will always experience throughout my life, and I realize that I'm always going to be recovering from feeling that way. So recover comes from that feeling and that kind of story in my life that I'll always carry with me.
It was also the first song from this album that it was a eureka moment for Alisa and I. We had done a bunch of sessions with different people trying to discover a new sound for the Naked and Famous. And we were working, we had a session booked with our friends, one of my oldest friends actually in my childhood. His name's Simon Oscroft, and he's a producer. He worked on the Aces debut. We had a session booked with him, and Simon and I were waiting at Elisa's house for her to come home. She was running an errand or something. And she like bursts into the studio and says, "Guys, I've written this song. I've written it on the car drive up to the session." And she sings the chorus of Recover, just start to finish. And so this song like fell out, really, really quickly. It came together, and we had this excellent workflow and this way that we approached the creativity, this way that we even recorded it, which felt different to us. So the song, and we supplemented it with like lots of live instruments all around her house. We used a piano in her living room. We sang a bunch of vocals in her hallway. We just grabbed anything that was lying around, and we tracked all these very live, organic sounding bits. And you can hear that in the song. It starts with this almost folk-like version of the song. And then we sampled that sort of like folk version and started making this more electronic thing. We replicated that process like throughout the whole record. That was something that we did almost with every song. So it was symbolic to us as well as like, oh, we've got it. We've got the new direction. This is the moment. Okay, cool. We found it. We found the new album. So yeah, it just, and I feel like just as a lyric, it stands out. I think it's the best song on the record. I think it's the strongest song on the record, and to me, I feel the most artistically proud of it. I think satisfied by it.
It's like once we'd written that song, we just were like on the runway of just writing Sunseeker and Easy and Death and Anesthetic. It was just like
just set the path.
Yeah, it was great.
So with like eureka moments, to this day, Youngblood is still your most streamed song. I was probably in this room 10 years ago when I heard it for the first time.
Wow.
Did you ever have that kind of like, oh yeah, like this is it feeling when you put Youngblood out, or even Punching in a Dream that kind of set you on the map?
I don't think we had like a this is it, this is going to be the song that changes our lives. It was more like, whoa, we just wrote a really amazing song, because we had released 2 EPs out, and we had written a fair few songs before we'd written Youngblood, and Youngblood was just like the songwriting production, it was just like a level above what we had done previously. So for us creatively, it was just really exciting. We were like, oh, we're gonna do that again. How do we do that again? And so we did that with Punching a Dream, and we did that with Girls Like You. So it was just like a really exciting moment as writers and Thom as a producer to have created something that felt so viscerally exciting.
It was similar to Recover, actually, very similar. It was created really quickly, not revised hardly, it just kind of fell out. So there's like, there are songs like that where they just kind of write themselves, which it's incredibly exciting to be a part of. And then there are other songs that are revised and rehearsed and scrapped and then resuscitated, and they kind of go through all these like really, really difficult processes to get to where they end up. And both of those processes are interesting for different reasons. But Youngblood was similar to Recover, except we, like Alisa said, we had no idea that it was going to be like an international hit that was going to take us out of the country and help us immigrate to the US and all this kind of stuff. Like we just had no clue at all. I think our sights were set we kept moving the goalposts, so to speak, in our career. Like really all we wanted in the beginning of our career was to be a real band. Like that was it. You know,
Mhm.
just wanted to be kind of like feel like a real band. That was it. We accidentally wrote a hit. Wish we could do it again, like intentionally. But yeah, that's the thing. I like to think of like and this is so arrogant, but I like to think of Youngblood as like, it's kind of one of those songs, like I feel like some bands just get one of them, like Radiohead had Creep, you know.
Mhm.
And Nirvana had Smells Like Teen Spirit. You know, there's just like this song that just like says everything about the band. It's just like impossible to redo that or recreate that. It's such like a time and a place, and it's just like it's not something that was like slaved over. It just kind of comes out, and I think it sort of overshadows a little bit, and overshadows any artist who has a song like that. You're forever just you know, the song is bigger than you.
I want to talk a little bit about your music videos because in doing my research for this, I did a binge of your music videos. And I could go on for days about like the cinematography and the aesthetics. So how do you, especially for Bury Us, because it's so funny and morbid, how do you come up with your ideas and your visions for music videos?
We have an amazing creative director. We've never worked with one really before. She helps us organize all of our ideas and helps us bring them to life. And so for Bury Us, Thom had written the initial treatment before we all kind of collaborated on it. But when Thom sent the email with the treatment, I was like, wow, this is poking fun at my clumsiness in general in life as a human. Okay, cool, let's do it. I thought it was such a funny, genius idea. And, you know, it really does poke fun at mine and Thom's dynamic just as people, you know. So, I mean, I feel like coming up with ideas for visual stuff and music videos, it's been really fun this time around. And a lot of it has come from our collective TNAF like camp of our creative director, myself and Thom, and we just all collaborate on ideas and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I thought Thom's idea at the end to also accidentally kill him was very funny.
that's that's the way we do things now. We've been working with, like Lisa said, a creative director who is like, she's part of our management, so she's across every video that we do. Jory Teplitsky is her name. She works for lots of other artists as well, but in the past we had this, like, the mentality was that we're musicians, we're not visual artists. Neither Alisa and I, you know, we're at school for visual art, although Alisa is actually quite a talented painter. We wanted to delegate that job to someone who did that for a living. So we kind of just like left all the video ideas and visual ideas to other people. And we were working with this duo called Special Problems. That was their kind of company name. It's two guys, Joel Kefali and Campbell Hooper, who did a lot of cool stuff for other Kiwi artists. Like some of Lord's early videos was Joel. And yeah, we just kind of like let them run free, which was fun and creatively very energizing for us, because I don't think we had any idea how we wanted to be seen. That wasn't something that we were like actively thinking about. And it wasn't part, I don't think, of when we started, I don't think it was really part of the big picture in the same way that it is now. Like, it's so weird. I feel like now artists, like, music is on Instagram, which is bizarre. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this hyper connectivity between who you are as a person taking pictures of yourself and what your music is. And I think when we started, it was definitely still more separated. There was like music independent of the identity of the person. And I think we were like extreme on that end of the scale. We just wanted the music to speak for itself. We like didn't want to be in the limelight. Like, even the name, you know, The Naked and Famous, it's very ironic and like it's over the top and doesn't say anything about who we are as people. It's just like couldn't be further from our identity. So yeah, we were kind of like sort of shrugging. We wanted to be represented by visual art that we thought was exciting, that we liked watching, and that giving that to somebody else was fun because they would imagine something that we couldn't, you know, that was surprising for us. Whereas now I think we take much more of an active interest in the way that we're portrayed, and we do find it easier to be ourselves more and connect with our audience on a more personal level. But it's, you know, it doesn't come naturally to us. Some people are, I feel like in today's world, some people are really successful because they are good at taking pictures of themselves, you know, and there are artists, it's sad, but there are artists that are successful because they're good looking, you know, and they're successful on Instagram because of that, you know, and that's part of the intrigue and the interest, which just, it's a bummer, but yeah, whatever. That's the world, you know.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck with the album release. I hope everything goes as according to plan as possible.
So too.
And thank you so much for etching out some time in your day for us.
Yeah, for sure.
You're very well.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.